What's going on, everybody? Welcome in to the Blazers Uprise post-game show here on a Friday night, and it's a good Friday night because the Portland Trail Blazers get their first road win of the season after losing their first six. They beat a very bad Houston Rockets team by a final score of 104-92. Now, this isn't a game where you can be super ecstatic. The Rockets were 1-10 going into tonight, but nonetheless, it's still good for Portland to get the monkey off their back and finally win a road game. This is going to be a chill post-game show. I'm looking forward to being able to kind of relax and actually enjoy myself on this stream. A lot of good energy in chat tonight, right? Oh, wait, no, there's already some CJ hate and whatnot. But we're going to relax and have some fun on this post-game show. Eric, how are you doing? What are your thoughts on this game?
I'm doing good, man. Nice to see a win. And no matter how many good things that happened and how many awful things that happened or really questionable play throughout the game, but we grinded out a win, and I think that's the most important thing about playing a team like this is just to, first of all, win the game, no matter how ugly it looks, no matter how bad you play, just win the game, because if we're sitting here right now talking about losing this game, then it's a completely different story, even if we played well. So this is the first game this season where we played a team that absolutely sucks, and it shows. And this is why I was mentioning last post-game show that we have yet to play a team in the bottom 11 in terms of offensive rating. And this is what happens when you play the second worst offense in the league. They absolutely suck, and they miss so many shots very badly and couldn't finish inside. And this will... Playing teams like this helps your defensive rating. So tonight, we're going to see a boost in that, and that's something that we haven't gotten to have all season so far.
Yeah. This is a team that, had we lost tonight, it would have been, the fallout would have been catastrophic. Right. But we win, and it's a bunch of, it doesn't matter at all. We look terrible. You know what I mean? So I get it. This Houston Rockets team is not good, but Portland had been maybe the worst team in the league when they were playing on the road. They had the worst defense in the league playing on the road. So although it's a bad Houston Rockets team, it's still a little bit of a step forward considering how bad the Blazers have been on the road. They only hold them to 92 points. That's a lot better than, their defensive performance against the Philadelphia 76ers when the Sixers were missing a bunch of key players. So, it's not something to write home about. This isn't a tough opponent by any means, but it's a good win nonetheless.
Yeah, and I think there are some positives. First of all, we have to talk in this opening few minutes about Nasir Little. Just a phenomenal performance by him. He was absolutely great on both ends of the court tonight, and it was nice to see him get rewarded, which leads me to my second point, is that Billups did a much better job than he has recently at rewarding the hot hand and for keeping Nas in there late into the fourth quarter when he was playing so well. So I applaud both Nas for having I don't know if you'd call it a breakout game because we've seen flashes of this before, but Nas for having such a great game on both ends, and also Billups for allowing him to play major minutes tonight.
Yeah, and we've said, on the road where the team has lacked energy, play Nasir Little more because he's an energy guy. He's a guy that can kind of set the tone, and tonight he ends up playing 28 minutes and 13 points, 6 for 10 shooting. Like, that's solid, 1 for 4 from 3. Okay. The stats aren't going to wow you, although he did fill up the stat sheet. He had 14 rebounds. He really crashed the boards well and had 2 assists, 2 steals, a block, a poster dunk. So it was impressive, but I think the main takeaway is just the energy he brought, because on defense, he had a great defensive game too, and I feel like that kind of got lost in the shuffle between the dunk and his rebound and what he was doing offensively. I thought he had a really good defensive game just because he was defending with energy and he was doing a good job sliding.
With Verizon, there's up to 7 entertainment
guys. I muted this ESPN link. There is your ESPN sound bite for the stream. Overall, just sets the tone in terms of his energy, and you got to reward guys that do that. And I like that Chauncey finally rewarded him. In this game, Robert Covington plays 22 minutes, and I don't think Robert Covington was necessarily bad. He was 2 for 7 from 3.
Just couldn't hit, yeah.
Yeah, defensively, I thought he was okay, and that's the thing is this Houston Rockets team isn't going to make Robert Covington pay for overhelping because Jayshawn Tate hasn't shot the ball well, Jalen Green hasn't shot the ball well, neither has Kevin Porter Jr., so this isn't the type of team to maybe punish Robert Covington for some of the mistakes he's been doing, but, it's a game where Nasir Little was playing better than him, and Nasir Little got more minutes. I like to see that.
Yeah, same with Nance. He kept Nance in with the starters when we went back to them, along with Nas. So that was good to see. And then, with as far as Rocco goes, there was that one play earlier in the game where he gets blown by on the perimeter by Christian Wood, and that just can't happen. And then you see Nas on smaller guys, bigger guys, whatever. He stays in front and makes a tough shot, puts his hand up. Now, Christian Wood did get one over him when he backed him down into the post, but it was really good defense, I thought. The time before that, I think it was Kevin Porter Jr. tried to isolate him, and Nas stayed in front of him and forced him into a really tough shot. So just the fact that Nas is keeping his guy in front of him, and I thought off ball tonight, he was really good positioning-wise, which led to at least one of his 2 steals just being in the right place. And I didn't really see a lot of mistakes from him tonight. And when you're young, just use that energy, man, and you can make a lot of things happen. And the one time he tried to make a good pass, Nance wasn't expecting it and blew the layup on the lob, but Nas probably should have just dunked that one.
Yeah, and in his post-game press conference, he talked about how Dame was mad at him, I think, for that play, for not dunking that ball. So he said the next opportunity he got was that poster dunk on Sengun, and he went up strong, And here's the thing, if Nance is ready for that, that's a highlight play and that's a dunk. That's on Nance for not being ready for that pass. But when you're Nasir Little probably could have just dunked that himself with how athletic he is. Dude is just a power jumper. Like, he puts 2 feet on the floor and gets off that thing. So just the energy is what we've really struggled with on the road. And we've talked about this team's mental lapses on the road and just not being focused enough. And it's tough because if you're busting your butt on defense and then somebody else isn't locked in or isn't focused and has a defensive breakdown and it leads to a score, I feel like it can kind of get in some players' heads like, okay, why am I busting my butt and then this guy has a defensive breakdown and they're still playing 30, 35 minutes? It's tough on guys. So that's why on the road, we need to reward the players that are playing solid defense and playing with energy, because that can set the tone and the standard for the rest of the team. And that's something that I hope to see going forward, where if Nas comes out with a bunch of energy and plays good defense, even if he wasn't making shots, even if he was struggling to shoot the ball, our problems on the road have been defense. So in a game where if he's just playing good defense and bringing energy, he should be getting at least 20 minutes regardless of what he's doing offensively on the road, because this team needs somebody to set that tone.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I guess we'll get to this when we talk about the players, but there was a little bit of accountability tonight, but once again, it wasn't the main 2 guys on the defensive end, and we're probably going to have to get into that.
I don't know if you want to do it here with the players or not. Okay, I mean,
so
I don't know. Like, let's just get into it now, because it's kind of a team. We're talking about team-based stuff. This is how we start every stream, if you guys aren't aware. Oftentimes it does go into players, but accountability is just kind of a team-wide thing. So let's jump into it.
So in the second half, the Rockets made a comeback because we started switching picks again, and Sengun and some of their bigger players were getting mismatched on the guard, much like Kaminsky did the other night. And it was leaving Nance or whoever, mostly Nance, because he was the one in the game during that time. But our bigs were getting isolated on their guards, and they started scoring. And there was a play where Ant failed to get through a screen, and Nance didn't want to switch, but he had to. and they scored. I think they might have hit a three or something, or a pull-up jumper on it. And you could see Nance turning around and talking to Ant the whole way down the court on offense. And then there was a timeout shortly thereafter, and Nance was still trying to talk to Ant about it, trying to communicate. It didn't seem like it was like in a negative way, and Ant just seemed like he wasn't responding at all to it. And then Ant gets taken out and we don't see him the rest of the game. He only plays 18 minutes. So that's part of accountability is, if you're not doing the right things or not responding to criticism or coaching or whatever, whether that be from another player. I'm assuming Nance was in the right there since he stayed in the game and Ant didn't. But at the same time, there was multiple examples of Dame and CJ in this game doing that as well. So the tough part's going to be for Billups to navigate what you were talking about, where when it's a bench player doing it versus one of your starters doing it, how much can you hold the starters accountable in a game where CJ, he started off the game well, but he finishes with 39 minutes tonight. Probably didn't deserve to play 39 minutes. Dame plays 38 minutes, and Ant only plays 18. It's just a weird dynamic right now where how much leash do you give your stars if you're trying to hold everyone accountable to the same principles versus not doing it for everyone and letting those guys still play because they can make plays on the other end. I don't know what the right answer is, but in my opinion, if you're going to stress accountability as much as Billups does, that means you have to hold everyone to the same standards.
Yep, I agree, man, and that's the thing. You have to be able to hold each other accountable as teammates, and you have to be receptive to that. It's not a personal thing. It's everybody wants to be the best player themselves, and they want their teammate to be the best player they can be as well. So, if it's some players come across too strong with it, Draymond Green has gotten into it with teammates before, but Larry Nance Jr., I missed it. I would assume that it wasn't coming across too strong, but I didn't see the play that you saw. Do you think it's coming across right, or was Nance maybe being a little too overzealous with it?
So Nance, as soon as he scored, Nance turned around, like Simons was kind of in the corner, the bottom corner, and Nance was around the free throw line. He turned around, it looked like he was holding up like 4 fingers or something. I was trying to figure out what he was trying to say. Mm-hmm. I'm assuming he was trying to say to like fight through it or whatever. And then Nance got to almost half court, and then he turned around and started talking to him again. But yeah, I don't know, man. It didn't seem like demonstrative or anything, but it was also kind of stern, like, no, you need to get through that. And don't put me in that position where I have to switch on there automatically. And, but that's what we were doing in the Phoenix game. So, and Chauncey said after that game that was our game plan. So I didn't think that was our game plan in this one, but, yeah, it was just kind of a weird situation. And then the walk back to the huddle, it didn't seem like Nance was going out of his way to like be demonstrative or anything. He was just trying to talk to him. Mm-hmm. And Ant just seemed like he was like, he just stared straight ahead and just kept walking, wasn't having it. I don't know if it's because everything you've heard, Ant's like super coachable and is a great guy and stuff. So I'm not saying this by any means shows anything about his character or he's a malcontent or anything like that.
Sometimes pride gets in the way.
Yeah,
sometimes pride gets in the way, but you gotta address it. And that's why practice sessions are good, film sessions are good, because you're not in the heat of the moment during the game. Right. So it's easier for guys to correct things then.
And that's why Chauncey said he doesn't like to say stuff directly after a game, because that's when emotion gets in and you might say something that you can't take back at some point. But this didn't seem like that. And I'm sure watching film, they can discuss it, like you said, and it'll be fine. But I actually kind of like that Nance was getting on him, because that's one thing we've really been missing on the defensive end is not only better communication, we obviously need that, but just someone who will like call people out on the floor if they're not doing the responsibility or not keeping the responsibilities that they're supposed to. So I kind of like that we have that. And like you said, it wasn't in like a Draymond Green type of way, but it still needs to be said sometime. And sometimes it's better coming from a player than a coach, even if in the moment you don't respond to it.
Yep, I agree with that. Let's jump into the team stats. It's not going to be pretty on either side. Portland did not shoot the ball well, 31% from three. But that's the thing. When you have a bad shooting night, you got to be able to take care of bad teams by defending them. And that's what Portland did tonight. 22% from three for Houston. This was a very poor three-point shooting team heading into this game. It seems like Christian Wood forgot how to shoot the ball because he's been a guy who's been a solid three-point shooter. And I don't know. Let me look what he was shooting tonight because he was a guy that hit threes at a pretty high clip last year, and his shot just looked awful today. That bailed the Blazers out. I mean, he was shooting 39% from three going into this game, but he was 0 for 6, capped off the game with an air ball. So he struggled to shoot the ball. You got Daniel Tice hit his first three of the game, and I was like, oh no, is he going to be Frank Kaminsky this game? He wasn't. He was 1 for 5. Jayshawn Tate 1 for 4. Kevin Porter Jr. is not known for his shooting. He was 1 for 4 despite being 7 for 14, 5 assists. Like, he had a solid game, but he struggles to shoot. And then Jalen Green only got 9 shots up in 31 minutes. I was a little surprised about that, so he didn't have an impact. And then Eric Gordon off the bench. Eric, he got some clean looks, and he's a good three-point shooter, and he's been shooting around 50% from 3 this year. He was only 1 for 7. So part of it was Houston missing some shots from decent shooters, Christian Wood, Eric Gordon, that, if you replay this game, maybe they knock down a couple of those, but same thing goes for the Portland Trailblazers with how they shot tonight. You just gotta defend the interior as well on top of that, and Portland did that.
Yeah, I'm really puzzled by our 3-point percentage so far this year because I don't know. I feel like once again tonight we didn't really take a lot of bad threes. But we're, hovering in the mid to low 30s when we've been the mid to upper 30s the past few years, and I don't feel like we're getting bad shots on that end. I don't know.
It's probably just CJ combined with Dame. They're probably shooting 30% collectively, where last season they were probably around 40%. So that's the deal there. I mean, Robert Covington is...
Yeah, he struggled tonight.
Yeah, he's hit or miss. He had a couple hot games. Norman Powell didn't have much of an impact tonight. Norman Powell and Robert Covington are two highest percentage three-point shooters. Anthony Simons is in a little bit of a slump compared to what he was doing a few games ago. He was 2 for 6 from 3 today. That's 33%, but he's a 40% shooter. That's how everybody looks at him as. So that's part of it as well. Larry Nance Jr. hasn't hit threes or even shot threes at the rate that I thought he was going to. Larry Nance Jr. was shooting 35% going into this game, but he was 0 for 2. So I think it's a small sample size, and I think it will correct itself. If CJ gets going or Dame gets going, that's good. Dame was 4 for 9 from 3 today, so that was nice. He's kind of broken out of his slump and looks quicker. We'll talk about him more when we get to his player card, but it's just, I don't know. I think it's just variation and not something to be too worried about.
Yeah, it's possible. Like Near012 says, it seems like we miss all our open threes, and that's something that'll correct itself, you would think. It's just the difference is, though, I mean, if we start hitting just a little higher percentage on these threes, all of a sudden this is like a plus 20-point win, and we probably have garbage time in the fourth quarter, and it's never really, I mean, it wasn't really in doubt. I think they cut it to like 7 at one point in the fourth, but like, I don't know. It's just at some point, in order to get this team going, some of those open threes have to start falling. Especially, I thought we came out in the third quarter. We had a few really, really nice possessions where the ball moved around the perimeter and ended up in Rocco's hands 2 or 3 times in a row. And he made the first one and then missed the next couple. But I thought the ball movement at the beginning of the third quarter was good, but we were missing shots, so it didn't seem like our offense was doing anything.
Yeah. Let's look at the rest of the team stats. 52 rebounds. Portland continues to out-rebound other teams. 11 offensive. Nurkic was a menace on the offensive glass. I don't know what his offensive rebounding numbers were, but a lot of times he was getting a hand on a ball, and that was limiting Houston being able to run in transition. Houston's a team that likes to play fast, or you would think, given kind of some of the players they have on their roster. Nurkic battling for boards was able to keep that in check. You see Houston with only 4 fast break points, Portland with 9, so this was not a game played in transition. Turnover battle, pretty even. Points in the paint, I mean, Houston couldn't hit a jumper, so they do have the edge there at 54. Lots of fouls in this game. This was just kind of an ugly game in general, 27-23. Portland needed to do a better job of not fouling throughout this game. I felt like there was a lot of silly fouls that kind of made it a little bit tougher on Portland. Houston wasn't really able to capitalize. Let me go back to their free throw numbers. They're 17 for 27 from the free throw line, so that's not good. 63%. So if Houston was able to knock down a higher percentage of their free throws, maybe this game gets a little bit dicey down the stretch. But, I mean, that's just part of them being a bad team and not being able to hit jumpers, not being able to hit free throws.
Yep. Nice to see us 80%. I'll take that compared to what we were doing. And then, yeah, for some reason, teams have been missing free throws against us this year. They said on the broadcast we have the best free throw percentage defense in the league, I guess.
Maybe that's the home crowd, man. Shout out to the Moda Center crowd then. Any other team takeaways, or do you want to hop into the players already?
I look at how bad Houston's offense is, how selfish it is, and they almost set a season record. I think the record, or the low this year for assists, is 12 in a game for a team, and they only get 13 tonight. So not good ball movement from them. When they did move the ball, I felt like they were much better off. So it's kind of thinking the same way as when I watch the Blazers. I really like that one play in particular where Dame tried to he normally shoot a step back 3. He passed to Norm and immediately cut, and Norm passed it right back to him. And then it was basically a 2-on-1 at that situation. Dame gets Tice off the floor and just dumps it off to Nance for a dunk. That was so pretty. And I don't know why we don't do stuff like that more often, where we make decisive cuts, put the defense in a position where you have one big guarding both Dame and whoever the center is in the game, like teams constantly do to us. And that's why a guy like Frank Kaminsky goes off for 31 points against us, because we're always getting put in those positions. So I love the fact that we actually did that to them for once, and I'd like to see a lot more of those decisive cuts once you pass the ball.
The reason I love that Dame play so much is in prior years, Dame jumps into the defensive player that's in the air and probably gets a foul, and the NBA is not calling that this year. So I like that play because Dame adjusted. Instead of jumping into the defender that he got in the air with a pump fake, he realized, okay, I'm not going to get that call. While his defender's in the air, he passes it and just cuts immediately. And the defender has to land and then try and start running with Damian Lillard, and it was Christian Wood he got in the air, so there's no chance Wood would keep up with him. So that's a smart play when you can't get that foul call anymore this season, to get the guy off the ground anyway and then just a quick give and go. Quick give and go. And they rotated it over to Dame, and Dame made a really nice pass to Larry Nance Jr., who was wide open. And that's the thing is, if you get a big switch down on you, I wish CJ tried this a couple times, because Daniel Tice was switching onto our guards a number of times, and he actually did a really, really good job. But, those guys are such elite shooters, they could probably get bigs in the air with a pump fake. So, step back, pick up the ball, pump fake, get the defender in the air, pass it and go. Pass it and cut. And then and then the defense is breaking down from there. Just make the right passes. You'll get a good shot, especially against the Houston Rockets team.
Yep, I completely agree.
So, all right, let's head into the players. I wonder if it's going to work today, because I've been trying to get this slideshow to work. It hasn't worked in the past couple streams. We will start off with... pull it up here. Start off with Nasir Little. We're starting to talking about Nasir Little first. We already talked about him a bit. 13 points, 14 rebounds. There you can see he filled up the stat sheet. I don't know what the third 14 is. We're going to be guessing with all the Krishes. I've seen a couple of the nicknames in later slides, and it's just Krish is going all out. What's the third 14, Eric?
So when Nasir started playing well at the beginning of the game, Krish or someone else said that Nas is going to have a triple-double with points, rebounds, and CJ misses. So CJ... So the second 14 is how many missed field goal attempts CJ had.
Wow. Okay. That makes sense.
Because they were mad that he wasn't getting the ball. And
yeah,
CJ was
that was a big hot topic in the GC today. We already talked at length about Nas. Anything else stand out to you from today?
Just love the aggression. There are a few times where I feel like he could still cut more than he does. Just if your three's not falling like it hasn't, like the last few games, he hasn't been hitting his three consistently. So just cut more. And I think good things happen. I'd like to see him attack the offensive rebounds a little more as well, especially when you're in the game with CJ and he's doing the ISO stuff. That you have prime... That's a prime example of when you should be crashing the offensive boards because you know the shot's probably going up. And with Nas's athleticism and the way he's been hustling, he should be able to get some more offensive rebounds. But overall, this is one of the best all-around games I've seen Nas play.
Yep, I really like the set they ran for him out of a timeout. And
that was awesome.
To the free throw line, and he knocked down that jumper.
Can we run that set for anyone else?
Yeah, just more action, more offensive sets, man. Because when
running a play for Nas, that was awesome.
Yeah, and utilize him more as a cutter. I think in general, there's a couple of other guys, Larry Nance Jr. especially being one of them, that should cut from the corner instead of spotting up because there are times where they could probably get dunks, and instead they're shooting threes with somebody closing out on them or trying to attack a closeout instead. I want Nas getting dunks. I want Nance getting dunks, so definitely need to cut more from the corner.
Well, we've always talked about this. When you run plays like that and they work, eventually they either keep working, or if the defense overcompensates, then that's when the person who initially set the pick for him then resets a back pick for him because the guy will be overplaying him at the free throw line, and then he'll be wide open for a backdoor lob. Or if the defender goes with him, then the big rolling to the middle would be wide open as well. So there's so many variations you can do on these simple actions, and that's why I've asked for it for years. So hopefully they continue to go to it, especially in lieu of doing ISO stuff that we saw for a lot of the plays after that.
Yep, I agree. Let's move on and talk about okay, it's working now. Everything's in order. Damian Sizzler Lillard, 20 points, 7 assists, 6 rebounds, a block. Played 38 minutes today. That's a little bit much. Got 5 free throws, which might be a season high. 2 of those were technicals, so this dude still can't get to the free throw line, man. It sucks. But overall, an okay game. Didn't have the most efficient night, especially from 2. He was pretty efficient from 3. He looked sharp. He looked quick today. And people have speculated about his injury, and then he aggravated the abdominal thing, and this was maybe the quickest I've seen him look all season.
Yeah, and I think he was 5 for 10 at one point until he struggled in the fourth quarter there. It was looking like a really, really efficient game. He got up to 16 shots, so not quite as efficient as it should have been, but still nice to see him hitting the 3 a little more consistently lately.
Yep, I agree. In his playmaking, he had a number of nice passes, only 2 turnovers for 7 assists. You'll take that. Let's talk about CJ Nas time McCollum. Now I get what this means, because when I saw this graphic, I was very confused. I messaged Krish. I was like, CJ, Nas time, McCollum, and he's just like, yep. I'm like, okay, man. So now I understand. So shout out to CJ for helping Nas get his first career triple-double. 17 points, 8 rebounds, 5 assists, 2 steals. Struggled in the second half. He only ended up shooting 2 for 10 in the second half. In the first half was 5 for 11, had 4 assists, 6 boards, 12 points, and was getting a lot of hate at halftime, which made absolutely no sense to me because he played a pretty good first half, in my opinion. Had some solid defensive possessions as well. He hunted Daniel Tice, and Daniel Tice did a really good job, switched out onto him. And I want to move away from as much isolation as we ran last year and as we've been running this year, but when it's a center against CJ McCollum, those odds are usually good enough that I'm okay with CJ McCollum trying to get his against Daniel Tyson. He was able to kind of get his in the first half. Those shots stopped falling. He's in a little bit of a shooting slump right now. I would like to see him get more threes. Last season he said he wanted to shoot more threes, and he was shooting about 50% of his shots as threes, and tonight he shoots 17 twos and 4 3-pointers. So we need to find a way to get him more 3-point shots. I feel like he's struggling to get good 3-point looks, and the only way he's getting them is if he's shooting off the dribble. The 1 3 he made was a catch and shoot 3, routed around and found a way to fall. We need to try and get him more catch and shoot 3s, in my opinion, because the offense is basically just the ball ends up in his hands and everybody's standing around, and then he needs to or has to go make things happen. And sometimes he misses teammates and whatnot and should be held accountable for that. But overall, when he isolates a bunch, and he isolated a bunch today, if it's against a center, I'm more okay with it. I just wish we could run better offense to try and get him higher quality looks off the ball.
Yeah, it's just 6 of 17 for 2 is not going to cut it in any game. And like I said about Nas, why don't we run that action for CJ to get a curl coming off a screen jumper instead of him having to isolate someone and take a jumper over a bigger guy. And also, there are plenty of times in this game where those mismatches you said, where CJ gets Tice switched onto him, and then but our big guy, whether that's Nance or Zeller or Nurk or whoever's in the game, has one of their guards on him or a wing on him, and we don't seem to take advantage of that or try to exploit those mismatches either. So it works kind of both ways. I understand why CJ does it sometimes, but at times too. But like the play where Dame cut right off the pass, if CJ does that and he has a big on him, there's no way that big's going to stay with him cutting to the hoop. So I feel like he could just pass and get it back. But I feel like he thinks he won't get it back or something if he does that. So yeah, it stands out because like there's plays where Nas scores a couple times in a row tonight, and then like he's open or something the next play, and CJ's just, oh nope, I got Tice on me, I have to ISO in this situation. And then there's, I don't know, it just seems like there's moments throughout the game, like there was a late ISO where he was on the baseline and he dribbled around and he didn't really have a good shot, and Nurk flashed under the hoop and was wide open and he missed him, and fortunately Nurk, I think, got the offensive rebound or a foul on that one anyway, but that would have been a perfect time to dump it off for him or lob it up for a dunk, and we just don't do a good enough job of getting the ball up high to our bigs. And that's something that I saw several people commenting on how our bigs all can't catch the ball or whatever. But honestly, it's how often do we throw the ball to our bigs up high? It's almost always low bounce passes or low wraparound passes. At the highest, it's like stomach level usually. And so almost every time one of our bigs catches the ball, they have to go down low, get it, and then get going from that point. It's never like catch the ball in your up top and just never bring the ball down and have an easy basket. And I just feel like we could do a much better job. And it starts with guys like CJ on those type of plays. Just lob it up to the big if he's under the hoop wide open. I think it'd be fine.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I mean, maybe people wouldn't be complaining about Nurkic's finishing
Right.
so much if he was getting dunks
Right.
because the ball's being thrown high instead of kind of around his knees.
But that's the funny part is like Nurk's. You can complain about Nurk's free like shooting percentages all you want. You know, we still see people today saying he's horrible at finishing, all that stuff, right? But like, how often does he get like wide open lob dunks? Like every team that plays us gets those easy buckets at least like 2 or 3 times a game at minimum, if not more than that. So where are those plays for Nurk? Where like even Zubac last game or 2 games ago had several lob dunks on plays where we were so focused on their wings and ball handlers that they just throw it up to him cutting down the middle. They don't even bother throwing the pass in the middle of the key. They just wait till he gets a little closer to the hoop and throw it up near the hoop, and that's an easy bucket for those guys. So that's an adjustment I'd like to see. Hopefully, Chauncey coming from that Clippers system could see that last 2 games ago and use that more. But there's no reason. I mean, you say Nurk can't jump for lobs, but it's all our bigs. Like this has been a case for several years. No matter if we have athletic bigs or mobile bigs, or Whiteside was one of the best lob targets on Miami in the league, and we barely lob it to him at all. And then you have a case where you have a guy like LaMarcus Aldridge early in his career was not a vertical center. He didn't jump very well. But then you get guys like Marcus Camby and Andre Miller who recognize the value of throwing it up high to him, and all of a sudden his points per game, his efficiency, his shooting percentages all like skyrocket because all of a sudden at least once or twice a game he's getting a easy dunk or lay-in because those guys throw the pass in the right spot. And I just don't think we understand how to make it easy on those bigs, and instead we're getting these situations where Nurk's getting offensive fouls and Zeller's always having to deal with a guy trying to go around someone when after he takes a dribble, and that's just not the best position to put our bigs in.
Yep, I agree with that. Let's move on and talk about. Sorry, I accidentally slid it. Yusuf Nurkic because he was Nurkic from the free throw line tonight. Eric, 12 points on 3 shots. You'll take that. This might have gone 1 for 3. 10 boards, 2 assists, 3 steals, 1 block. Played some solid defense. Rebounded pretty well and made all 10 of his free throws.
Yeah, he was great at the line down the stretch. We really needed him to make those, and he came through for us tonight. I thought he was pretty good defensively. Obviously, 3 shots, you'd like to see him get a little more action, and also like to see him more involved again with playmaking a little bit. But overall, not too bad.
Yep, I agree with
the one.
Yeah.
The charge I was talking about on Jae'Sean Tate, he had CJ wide open in the corner, so I'd like to see him recognize that. So not only does that give him an assist, but it also gets CJ wide open catch and shoot 3, and maybe gets him going a little earlier in the fourth than that one play catch and shoot 3 that you were talking about.
Yeah, I feel like it was really hard to notice Nurkic tonight on the offensive end. We didn't really run anything through him. He did have a charge, that sucks. It was kind of a ticky-tack call that I think half the time they don't call, and Nurkic has a lay-in. So whatever, you'll take that, I guess. I don't know, man. I still want to see us run a bit more through him and diversify the offense. I know I say it every stream, but tonight I feel like they didn't do much to utilize him. It was basically just a bunch of pick and roll and isolation, pick and rolls to get Daniel Tice to switch onto a guard, then tried to isolate him. And then Blazers got out in transition a little bit and had some possessions where they moved the ball well. It wasn't just the situation with like Nurkic kind of at the elbow distributing that sort of way. So in the half court, when the ball's not popping, I would like to get Nurkic a few more touches and then cut off that. Too often it's just kind of everybody standing around the perimeter and watching as somebody dribbles the air out of the ball. So still hoping for that to develop itself more as the season goes along. And
not just dribble handoffs. It's like a majority of the time when he does get the ball, especially at the top of the key, it's just in a dribble handoff situation. And I like to see a little more creative action than just handing it back off to the guards.
Yep, agreed. Larry, 20 minutes. Nance Jr. He's playing 20 minutes now. He's finally broke through that milestone. He played, I think, 28 minutes last game and 20 minutes tonight, so he's finally getting more playing time and playing solid. 9 points, 4 rebounds, 2 assists, 1 steal, 3 for 7 from the field. You like to see that. 0 for 2 from 3. He never takes a bad 3, though, and oftentimes he passes up good 3s. I want him shooting when he's completely wide open because I think he's a good enough shooter to knock down a high enough percentage of those, around 35, 36%. But had a couple nice cuts tonight. Would like to see him do a little bit better from the free throw line than he's done this season. I feel like there's multiple guys on the team kind of struggling and shooting below their career average from the free throw line. But I just like the way things move when he's in there. Offensively, he's not a guy that holds the ball. He's a guy that'll catch the ball and swing it and go set a screen immediately, and then defensively knows where to be. So I think you're continuing to see that. I like that he's getting more minutes, and I like that he's stringing together some solid performances.
Yeah, and we also saw him fourth quarter. So tonight we see Dame comes back in, CJ stays in, Nurk comes in, Nance and Nas stay in. So we have a Dame, CJ, Nas, Nance, Nurk lineup.
You've been asking for that for a while.
Nice to see that for a few minutes tonight, and I'm glad he didn't just immediately put Rocco back in that situation. It was nice to see Nance get some run with most of the starters.
Yep. Before we hop into the next player, Reese has a tidbit from Chris Haynes. It says Trailblazers players to be interviewed in Neil Olshey investigation, which I think is kind of weird. Doesn't sound like he has a bad relationship with players. Nurkic said they have no relationship. It's just professional. So I don't know why players would be interviewed, because obviously Olshey running the front office and how he deals with the front office is completely different than how he might deal with players. So I'm curious as to why that's going to happen.
Interesting.
You have any other thoughts on that?
Yeah, like you said, it's just, other than negotiations for free agency, I don't know how much they're going to get from that, and why would he be a jerk in those? Maybe they're fishing for good stuff to balance out the bad. I hope that's not the case, but that's the only thing that initially pops into my head is they want someone like Dame to vouch for him or something. But hopefully the investigation's not being run in a way that they're trying to find good things.
Yeah, this is just weird.
I don't understand what's going on at all. So.
Everything's weird. And then Chris McCollum was the news break today. We'll talk about that after we're done with the player cards. We'll take your questions and talk about that for about 5-6 minutes or so. There's just not much to talk about since he's kind of the president and doesn't oversee a lot of basketball stuff. But we will give our thoughts and answer a couple questions on that after this player segment. And we'll wait for the Olshey investigation to conclude because, that's kind of what everybody's waiting for, to see what the resolution here is for this investigation. Let's jump into the next player. We got Cody, negative 6.6 Zeller. What are these numbers, Eric? You have a better grip. Do you know what negative 6.6 means?
I do not know. Maybe that's his plus minus for the year on average. I don't know.
I don't know either. Chat, if you know, let us know. 9 points, 0 boards, 0 assists, 0 steals, 0 blocks, 9 minutes.
Weird stat line today.
Very weird stat line. 2 for 2 from the field, 5 for 6 from the free throw line. You like to see? Hey, our two centers, Eric, were 15 for 16 from the free throw line today. You love to see it. It's very nice to be able to have a big man that can knock down some free throws. Zeller has kind of struggled at times this season, so nice to see him knock down 5 of his 6. He had a good impact when he was there. Did he even play the second half?
I I don't remember because he came in right away when Nurk got his second foul in the first half. I think he played like a couple minutes, but I can't remember.
He might not have played the second half. I don't remember either. Chat, if you know, let us know. Chris says it's his D-Raptor. Wow. And normally defensive analytics love Cody Zeller, so the fact that his defensive Raptor, which is a defensive analytic, is a negative 6.6, that's a yikes.
He's, positioning-wise, he's just been really bad, and I'm hoping that, I mean, he's doing things that I've never seen him do in his career, so I don't understand. Never understand why he's out of position so often or why he's not playing at the level oftentimes like Nurk does. So, yeah, very, very puzzling to me, but that's why his minutes have been cut in lieu of other players lately.
Yep. It's just kind of weird to have a guy have 9 points in the first half in a pretty limited shift and then barely play or not play in the second half. But I don't think it was the wrong decision necessarily.
Real quick, Nick, we do not have the highest payroll in the NBA. We did last year, but not this year. And, yeah, or not even close, actually.
Yeah, let's move on and talk about Anthony 407 Simons. 8 points, 2 rebounds, 1 assist, 3 for 9. He's the 4 turnovers you don't like to see. He had a couple bad plays. He hasn't been super turnover prone this season, but tonight he was. And still struggling to shoot the ball the past couple of games. What were your thoughts on Mr. 407?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I do think outside of the couple possessions in a row where he messed up on the pick and roll, I feel like overall he is improving on defense and contributing in other ways, even though his shot's not going. But then tonight, the 4 turnovers and only 1 assist kind of flip that the other way, where it's like you can't be shooting poorly and you can't be turning the ball on top of that and then not making plays for others when you're a guard. So I understand why he got his minutes cut tonight. Overall, I feel like he is still contributing more than that, and this might have just been a blip because even though he's shot poorly a few games now, I still feel like he's been picking it up on the other end, and that's good to see. That no matter what's happening with your shot, at least you can say you're bringing your defense night in and night out, and I feel like he's doing that. And it's kind of weird that he was a plus 20 tonight. I think that was the highest on the team, if I'm not mistaken. So it's kind of weird that he has 4 turnovers, makes several defensive mistakes, and yet we're by far the best while he was on the floor tonight. So kind of weird, but most of that was because I think in the first half we made a huge run with our second unit, which was also nice to see.
Yeah. I can't wait till you're screaming Antomatic on Twitter again. Because that'll be a good time. Especially if Nas has good games like this. I want to see both these guys have good games at the same time, because I feel like that would be a lot of fun.
It's the same with Dame and CJ, right? Like, if just 2 of those guys are able to have a good game at the same time, like, just imagine how much better we'd be right now. But it's like we only can have one in every game, it seems like.
Yeah. Let's talk about Norm, who might have been on a bit of a minutes restriction tonight. He struggled. He was questionable going into this game with a quad injury. Has 7 points on 3 for 9 shooting. He's been popping off offensively, so he's been playing really well. You see his splits there, 50, 46, 81. So he's been super efficient. A little bit of an off night on a night that he might not have played, so not too much to read into, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. Thought I love his aggressiveness, but at times you can get too aggressive. He had a couple fast breaks where he didn't really have a lane to drive to the basket, and he tried anyway, and then took a really bad 3 contested in transition with no one else down to rebound. Stuff like that I don't like to see, but he's been so good at those things this year that it's hard to like get mad about one game where he takes a couple of ill-advised shots. And also, yeah, I'd like to see him pass a little more, but then you see him in his turnover tonight throw a really bad pass. So hopefully he can get better at that, because honestly, he's been one of our better players most of the year when he's been healthy. And yeah, I don't. We didn't. It's also got to be frustrating because in the fourth quarter, I mean, I was at like 10 possessions in a row where he didn't touch the ball. It was just like Dame and CJ. So it's not like he was super involved in the second half of this game either. Most of his misses came in the first half.
Yeah. We got two more players to go through that are not showing up on here, so I'll just plug them in this way. We got Robert Covington up next, who was a bit of a no-show tonight. Has 6 points, 4 boards, 2 for 8 from the field, 2 for 7 from the three-point line, only 22 minutes. I mean, when Rocco has games like this, man, we try and talk about every player. We try and go in depth and talk about specific plays, but when Rocco has games like this, man, but wasn't bad defensively, wasn't too noticeable on that end, it's hard to even come up with anything to say, at least on my end.
Yeah, I mean, it felt like he just missed shots tonight. So can't really blame him for that. I felt like he was taking good shots, with the caveat of the one in the first half where he took from like 6 feet behind the line with 6 seconds on the shot clock. Don't ever do that again, Rocco, please.
With 6 on the shot clock, though?
Yeah.
I mean, with 6 on the shot clock, I don't know if it's that bad.
Dude, the guy was in his face. It's not like he was wide open. I mean, if you're open, sure, let it fly. But the guy was right up on him. He had plenty of time to go around him, playing him up that tight, and yeah, or make another swing pass. But yeah, I thought that was a bad shot. Other than that, most of his threes were fairly open. So yeah, not too bad.
I think we're thinking of 2 different shots then, because I thought he was more open. But yeah, it's. I don't know. If he's not hurting the team with how he's defended so far this year, and he can have some bad shooting nights, if he has a game where he's just not hurting the team, then that's okay. If you're going up against a bad team on the road, if you're going up against a good team, you're going to need him to step up defensively compared to what he's done this season and also knock down some shots. And he had a couple of games at home like that. He had some clutch threes against the Pacers. The Blazers battled down from 9 back, kind of on the back of Robert Covington. He had 3 threes in the final 6 minutes, so he'll have some more moments like that this season.
Yeah, for sure.
Just has to keep trying to improve defensively, given his struggles early on this year.
And props to Billups for recognizing that other players had it going more than him tonight and limiting his minutes.
Yep, agreed. Let's talk about Tony. 44.4 Snell, 3 points, 2 rebounds, 1 assist, 11 minutes. He had 5 fouls in 11 minutes. That's impressive. I don't understand why he's in the rotation. Maybe tonight with Norm being questionable, you give him some minutes. But when I feel like Norm and Nas should be playing more in general, and we've been playing Tony Snell game in, game out, about 10 minutes a game or so. If everybody's healthy, I don't think he should be playing. And it's not necessarily because he's playing bad. It's just because you got better players ahead of him. So he was a plus 13 in 11 minutes, knocked down a 3, almost airballed the other one, which is rare because he's such a sniper. But defensively, 5 fouls. That's not good. I think he kind of struggled on that end. And right now, it's kind of a situation where I'm not sitting there cringing because he's in the game, because he's not a Mario Hezonja. He's not a Anthony Tolliver, right? But we got some better players that should be playing, should be taking up those 10, 11 minutes.
Yeah, the only thing I'll say to that is, like, there's no reason CJ should be playing near 40 minutes. So if you want to give Dame and CJ like 35, 36 minutes, and if those 8 minutes go to Snell, I'm fine with that, as long as the other players like Nas tonight plays a lot of minutes. Nance plays a decent amount of minutes. So as long as the rotation between the other players is fine and not out of whack. I have no problem with him getting a few spot minutes.
I would rather Nasir Little play 32 minutes than for Nas to play 22 minutes and Snell to play 10.
Well, sure, but
and I would let's see some Rocco at the 3 and Nance at the 4, because we haven't really seen that at all. And let's see that with Nurkic. And I'd rather eat into Snell's minutes with that too. So I just think there's so many different combinations. You know, you got Norm at the 3, you can play Nas at the 3, you can play Rocco at the 3 if you have Nance at the 4. That I don't know. I'm kind of at the point where it's not like a big deal, but I kind of just want him out of the rotation.
Yeah.
So
I don't know until he does something really bad. I don't necessarily have a problem with that. I think they're trying to see if they can maybe just get something out of him.
You know exactly what he is.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not necessarily because he's playing bad. It's just because other players are playing good. You know, I mean, Nas, give him the more playing time you give him, the better he'll be throughout the season, in my opinion. So
I just can't complain about Nas when he finally gets a good amount of minutes tonight.
Yeah. I mean, but Norm playing 25, you know, with the quad. If Norm's healthy, he should be playing about 34. And Nas tonight, I would have liked 30. Take
CJ's minutes.
I mean, well, Simon's only playing 19. So that's the thing is, like, at any given night, you can. There's somebody that's going to probably deserve more minutes. I feel like after every single game we've sat here like, okay, this player deserved more minutes tonight, or this player deserved more minutes tonight. Most of the time it's 2 guys. So it's a situation where, like, the odd guy out would be Tony Snell. So in the future, I don't know, it's like we set up the rotation where we're, like, definitely going to give Snell minutes. But it should be a situation where it's like if Nas or Nance or Rocco or Simon, like, just play the guys who are playing the best, right? And kind of leave it up in the air going into each game, where instead of playing Snell a certain shift, whichever player is playing the best out of 2 or 3 guys is getting more minutes. That's how I'd like to see us do things overall.
But what if that's Snell?
Bro, what if that's Greg Brown, Eric? What if that's Greg Brown, man? I don't know. Like, Snell's gonna hit threes. That's about the only thing he's going to do at a positive rate. I'd just rather have Nas with his energy, especially. It's just like there's been games on this road trip where Nas will play 19, 18 minutes and maybe not shoot the best, but like just his energy, you need that. And Snell will play 10. It's just like, just play Nas, even if he's not hitting shots. The energy, you need that on the road.
You know what I think it is? It's so we saw tonight that Snell's not the greatest individual, like, perimeter defender, but he is really, really solid within the schemes and just, like, rotation wise and just help defense, those kind of things. Very smart player. So I think maybe whether it be through practice or just the moments he's played in the game, Billups is rewarding him for maybe just not messing up very often off ball, and he's willing to just eat a few minutes with him and hope that the rest of the guys can pick up their defense if they have as many good defenders on the floor as possible.
Yeah, I mean, so is Larry Nance Jr., so I'd rather see Larry Nance Jr. play 30 minutes tonight instead of 20. You know, I mean, there's just so many guys. We are playing CJ too much. And CJ and Dame, like, you want them to not play more than 36, 37 minutes a game. So, you know, whittle off a few minutes there.
Especially against the Rockets.
Yeah, it's just like Nance, Simons, and Nas all deserve like 25 to 30 minutes a game, in my opinion, with how talented they are with what they can do for this team. So on most nights, 2 of those 3 guys are getting only 20 minutes a game. So that's just kind of where I sit at right now. I really like that. Those 3, you know, it's nothing against them. I love Nas, I love Ant, I love Nance. I really like those 3 guys, you know. So overall, I mean, later on in the season and definitely in the playoffs, you'd see the rotation get cracked down. So it's not a big deal. It's just something that I question slightly. but it's not as bad as some of the minutes earlier on in the season. I think Chauncey's showing a little bit signs of progress given how much Nance played last game and how much Nas played tonight.
Yes, exactly.
So let's talk about the McCollum thing for about 5 minutes, 5 or 6 minutes, and then we'll go around the NBA. So McCollum resigns today, effective immediately. That was the Friday Night News dump. We got a tweet from Dwight James yesterday hinting at something breaking today, and everybody thought it was going to be Neil Olshey related.
Including Dwight.
including the guy who had a source saying, hey, be on the lookout tomorrow, there's going to be news breaking, and it was not Neil Olshey related. It was Chris McCollum stepping down, and Dwayne Hankins is now the new president for the Portland Trailblazers, and this wasn't related to the Olshey investigation. If it was, then we'd have a lot more to discuss. This was, a bunch of little things kind of adding up over time. McCollum wanted to have a little bit more of a voice in terms of, press conferences and whatnot. Obviously, Olshey kind of had a couple bad ones over the offseason. McCollum wanted to have more of a voice with the press, with the public, with the fan base, and Jody essentially told him, no, we're fine operating as is. So that was one of the things. There was a couple other things related. It's just
Allen.
What?
Apparently him and Paul Allen had become close, and he was kind of promised to have certain things he'd be allowed to do in the future, and then he passed away, unfortunately, and wasn't allowed to see any of those things through. But as for the voice thing, I kind of am on his side here. As much as I've defended Olshey in the past, why not throw McCollum out there in some of those situations instead of Olshey? If he's volunteering to take on the responsibility for some of those things, why not take some of the heat off Olshey and get that on someone that a lot of people have much more respect for than they do with Olshey. So kind of weird that he asked for that responsibility and wasn't given it. We know Olshey doesn't like to do press conferences, and he's terrible in a lot of them. He comes off defensive and not well likable at all. So it's kind of weird that they wouldn't allow someone who wants to do that to take some of the pressure off of Olshey, since he was getting destroyed this summer, and maybe McCollum could have saved some face for the franchise if that was even possible. But so yeah, don't blame him, I guess, for leaving. But yeah, kind of shocking news to thinking we're going to hear something about the Olshey investigation today, and to see that instead.
Yeah. Feel free to give questions about the situation in chat. Still got a couple games going on for around the NBA, so Chris is trying to get that up to date. And, I know people kind of asked for our thoughts a couple times throughout the day on Twitter, and I'd rather you guys just ask questions in here. It's easier to answer without the character limit or having to go on a whole Twitter thread. So if you have any questions about it, feel free to post them in chat. Did you like McCollum? Eric, what do you think of McCollum's job performance?
My emotions on McCollum are mixed. I hated the way the Mike and Mike thing went down. Which a lot of people are saying that was Powell Allen's decision, but still looks bad. And there was a lot of other crap that went along with that. Like, he started following Kevin Calabro like a few days before Mike and Mike got fired, and some other stuff happening. I haven't liked the last. It's not just the TV package deals or the TV rights deals, but the fact that they went so long with so many people in the fan base not being able to see games, and then this summer they signed with a place that has like no streaming options and stuff. I give him a little bit of a pass on that because he basically had no choice. NBC Sports Northwest was going away. Root Sports was basically one of the only companies willing to step up and even offer a contract for the Blazers' rights. But I don't know. It's to the point like maybe they could have been more creative with just starting their own network, or some sort of, done something differently. There's so many channels, so many streaming options. There's got to be a way to make that work somehow. So yeah, I haven't liked any of that stuff. I did like that he was always trying to push to get the All-Star game to finally come to Portland. I think he made a lot of headway there. And overall, he seemed like a pretty nice guy when an organization that struggled with, obviously there's an investigation and, the wrongdoings of the owner herself. So, yeah, overall, I think the business side of it, he was pretty good. He's gotten the team into a situation where they're profitable now. For many years under Paul Allen, it was treated as a toy that he just lost millions of dollars a year on. So I like that they're business savvy now and making money. He cleaned up the Moda Center. The experience there with all the food options and stuff has gotten a lot better. So yeah, it's kind of a mixed bag for me, both ways. But yeah, I think it's going to be huge to lose him, and then if Olshey gets fired too, those are basically the two faces of your franchise for the last few years. Like, they've had full control over the two sides of the franchise that they've had control over, and to lose them both within the span of a couple weeks, I don't know. I'm hoping that doesn't cause some sort of unraveling. It seems like this Hankins guy is pretty well respected, so hopefully he can just step right in and we don't really fall off or miss a beat too much. But just be weird going from Jody letting those two guys just do whatever they want to having two completely different people in charge, most likely.
Yeah, he did a good job in terms of the business aspect of things. I mean, they're probably making bank off this TV deal. So if you look at it from, okay, his job is to help the organization financially, then yeah, he succeeded potentially with the TV deal. Part of it is fan relations and the perspective of fans in regards to the organization, and with this TV deal, that's not good. So he kind of struggled a little bit more in that regard. With this TV deal being fresh and everything, I feel like that is kind of the overriding thing for some people. The experience inside Moda Center is, I mean, it's very Portland centric, which is cool. The arena naming rights, fans weren't happy about that, but that's a good business move for the organization. So in terms of evaluating him for what his job actually was, he was pretty solid. In terms of evaluating him from like a fan perspective, it would be a little bit more negative for me.
Yeah.
We got any other good questions in here that you've seen, Eric?
Well, they've asked what we consider falling off, because I kind of said that. I don't know, I just mean in terms of when you have two people controlling everything, it could actually be a good thing if they are gone, especially if one of them was creating a toxic workplace. So who knows, maybe the new people could thrive, but there's also a chance that those two people were actually really good at their jobs. Not saying anything about their behavior or anything, but that not having them, I mean, it's crazy to me, because until this summer, since Olshey and McCollum and Stotts and all those guys came in 2012, this has been a situation where we've had complete stability, and this is a team that, I mean, how many GMs did Paul Allen go through and before Olshey in a short amount of time? And how dysfunctional was our team for a while? The year before they all came, we had a mutiny in the middle of the season that got Nate McMillan fired. And then, we had several guys like Raymond Felton just, go at it with the fan base and stuff like that. And now we have a situation where, like, after seemingly 9 years of good, like, say what you want about the moves, like basketball wise, Olshey's made, like, we hadn't really heard a lot of this kind of stuff from the team. It seemed like a good organization and all that. So now that the narrative is that it hasn't been or it won't, I just feel like there's the potential here to, like, between Jody not really being super involved with the day stuff and new people in, that it could just go off the rails. But I'm hoping that that's not correct, and I'm not saying that should justify keeping either of them, because Olshey deserves to get fired whether McGowan quit or not. But I just hope that whoever comes in can, like, stable the ship and provide some good PR versus whatever's happening this summer.
Sean asks, has Jody had a single press conference related to the Blazers since she's had ownership? If Olshey is removed, that will kind of force that, won't it? She hasn't, and the second question, it might. We'll have to wait and see. I mean, they do have a president now. That could be Dwayne Hankins handling that press conference. So, it's not like they don't have a president right now. They have a new McGowan, basically. I have a tidbit on Olshey that I'll get into around the NBA, and then after around the NBA. And then there's also a Nurkic tweet that we got to talk about after around the NBA. But before that...
Is that from tonight?
That's from tonight. Let's jump into this Nurkic tweet now. Nurkic tweeted out, and then we'll jump into the Olshey tidbit after, and we'll finish up the show with that. Nurkic tweeted out, "It's fine. I ran today," with a picture of him leaving the arena. What are your thoughts on that, Eric?
Yeah, that's... well, I saw him, I don't know if it was yesterday or the day before, like a tweet that said something to the effect of how he hasn't had the same role in offense that he was promised. Yeah, interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's after a win, probably shouldn't be tweeting out that. And it sounds like he and Chauncey are going to have a conversation.
I think. Well, is it okay? So what was the second part that you said?
He said, "It's fine. I ran today," and it was a picture of him leaving the arena.
Oh, okay. You did. I thought you said something else.
No.
Yeah. I mean, what's he holding in his hand? Is that coffee or is it something else?
I don't know.
To me, well, I mean, we're all being cryptic, but what if it's like ice cream or something, and he's like, saying he's gonna have a cheat day because he ran or something, you know?
Oh, I mean, maybe.
I don't know. I mean, maybe we're thinking it's like he's mad at the team and he's just saying
it looks like coffee to me. But
yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. He posted running emojis at 7:47, like
That's
right
true.
after the game. So I don't know. I mean, he only gets 3 shots in 30 minutes and makes all his free throws. But obviously, I mean, I said it when we talked about him. We didn't really utilize him at all today. So it's a situation where, we talked so much about utilizing Nurkic more, and Chauncey said he was going to. And I couldn't blame Nurkic if he felt like he was lied to a little bit, because they really haven't utilized him more.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and I mean, we talked about maybe they haven't really implemented their full offense yet because, they focus so much on defense. But, yeah, I mean, I don't know. If this was a loss, then maybe you understand it, but I mean, he still had, double-double, and, well, I'm seeing 9 rebounds on the site I'm looking at, but he still had a pretty efficient game, only getting 3 shots. So I don't know if the 3 shots is bugging him or what, but
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just the overall utilization. I don't know. We'll see. I assume he might get asked about that, or Chauncey might get asked about that at some point, or if Nurkic continuously is not utilized like Chauncey said he would, that might be a question that's coming for him in the coming days that Chauncey's going to have to answer, and we'll wait and see on that. With that being said, it's time for Around the NBA. We had a lot of games today. Only had 3 games yesterday, so had a big slate of games today. Got a couple games still going on. We'll get to those. The Hornets beat the Knicks 104-96. LaMelo Ball had a Westbrook-esque stat line in this one. He shot 4 for 13, 0 for 5 from 3, but had 17 rebounds. So that's a Westbrook stat line if I've ever seen one from a point guard. Kemba Walker had 26 in the loss. The Celtics beat the Bucks in OT 122-113. The Celtics were led by Dennis Schroeder, 38 points. We've had a lot of role players going off lately. That happens once again tonight with Dennis Schroeder with 38. Jason Tatum had 27, but only 10 for 25 shooting. The Celtics were without Jaylen Brown, so this is a solid win against a Milwaukee team that's still banged up, still without Chris Middleton.
I don't think Giannis played tonight.
Giannis didn't. Well, yeah, I see an Antetokounmpo, but it ain't the right one. It's Thanasis playing 12 minutes off the bench. He went 3 for 3, so good for him. But without Giannis, yeah, it's actually surprising that Milwaukee was in this game. Then I didn't realize Giannis didn't play. Do you know when Chris Middleton is going to be back?
No, I don't. Other than that was that a few days before the Embiid one, or was that around the same time? Because I know Embiid's,
a while.
Yeah, Embiid's one is out 10 days at least, and they play Portland. Or they were going to play Portland 12 days after that was announced. So we're still interested to see if Embiid will be back for the Blazer game or not. But I thought Middleton was somewhere around that time.
Okay, so they've been without Chris Middleton. Brook Lopez were without Giannis today. Drew Holiday, 6 for 25, 13 assists, 17 points. So he was 1 for 12 from 3. Not a good stat line from him. He needed to carry the offense today. He didn't. But Pat Connaughton, 6 for 10 from the field, 15 points. He's been playing well. And Rodney Hood hit a 3 off the bench. So that's nice to see.
The first 4 teams we've mentioned so far. So Knicks are 7-6 now. Hornets 7-7. Milwaukee 6-7.
Mm-hmm.
Chicago or Boston 6-6. Standings are very jumbled with teams that probably had higher hopes than that. So it'll be very fun to watch how the East plays out this year.
Yeah, and we'll look at those standings in a second. One team that's above that mess, Cleveland, is now 8-5. They win 98-78. They got 21 from Garland. They were without Colin Sexton in this game. He's going to be out for a little while. Shetty Osman, 17 off the bench. Solid game from them. They've been a really good defensive game. Cade Cunningham, 9 points, 6 rebounds, 3 assists, 4 for 8 from the field in the loss for Detroit. You had Jared. Go ahead.
Detroit, I think it's in the last 60 years has the lowest field goal percentage of the last 60 years right now. Who knows if that'll continue all season, but they have been a brick show this year.
Yeah, they're shooting like 39% from the field. So definitely not a good number. The Nets beat the Pelicans 120-112. James Harden rounding back into form. He had 39 points, 12 assists tonight. Kevin Durant had 28. Joe Harris had 24. Those were the only 3 Nets players in double figures. But all had big games. For the Pelicans, they're still without Zion Williamson. Who knows when he's going to come back? His return date keeps getting pushed back. The Pelicans started Garrett Temple instead of Herb Jones in this game. Temple had 17 points. Jonas Valanciunas had 20. They've been without Brandon Ingram for a couple games now, so they're without their 2 best players. That's a team that might be the worst team in the league right now, might be in the running with the Houston Rockets. The Pelicans are now 1-12. 1-12, Eric. They gave the Nets a fight, though, despite how bad their roster is right now and how bad their team is right now, making this one an 8-point game. That's about as good as you can ask for. This next game is interesting. The Thunder are 5-6 with a win tonight against the Sacramento Kings, 105-103. Lou Dort got a steal on De'Aaron Fox, went down the length of the floor and had a game-winning layup with 1.7 left on the clock. So Sacramento has been in some tight games this year. They got a Harrison Barnes buzzer beater earlier this year against Phoenix. This time they're on the losing end. And the Thunder, I mean, they've been competitive, surprisingly. You got SGA with 22. You got Dort with 22. Baisley had 15 on 6 for 8 shooting. Trey Mann, the rookie, not to be confused with Terrence Mann, and I thought they were brothers for the longest time. They're not. It's like the Bojan Bogdanovic and Bogdan Bogdanovic situation where those two aren't related. It's like Mikal and Miles Bridges. Trey Mann has 12 points off the bench for the rookie. And then, let's see, there's our game. That's a dub. Good to see. The Suns blow out the Grizzlies. They were up 30 midway through this game. This was a really comfortable game for them. They win 119-94. Chris Paul had 15 points, 12 assists. Devin Booker still kind of struggling to shoot, 7 for 17, 17 points for him. Frank Kaminsky only had 8 points in 27 minutes off the bench. So a really
didn't really have to do much.
Yeah, letdown game for him. John Morant had 26. He's the only Grizzlies player that played well for the most part in this game. The Mavs beat the Spurs 123-109 in a battle of two Texas teams. They were led by Luka Doncic's 32 points, 15 assists, 12 rebound, triple-double. Devin Vassell, 20 points in the loss. You got the Nuggets beating the Hawks 105-96. Jokic had a triple-double himself, 22 points, 19 rebounds, 10 assists. That's the Blazers' next opponent. Trae Young, 30 points, 9 assists, and a loss. The Hawks go from Eastern Conference Finals to 4-9 to start this season, so maybe Nate McMillan is regressing. I don't know what the situation is there, but they have been awful to start this season.
Yeah, they are not looking pretty right now.
Yeah, I don't see a return trip to the Eastern Conference Finals. They might struggle to make the playoffs at this point. You got 2 games ongoing. Both these games, I have updated scores for, since this graphic obviously can't update itself live. For Timberwolves-Lakers, it was 44-49 at the start of the third quarter. The Timberwolves are outscoring the Lakers 19-3 in the third quarter, Eric. The Timberwolves are beating the Lakers 63-52. Pat Bev has 11.6 rebounds, 3 assists. The Lakers have 19 from Anthony Davis, but he's the only one really doing anything. Russell Westbrook has only shot 4 times in 20 minutes. I never thought I'd ever say that. And Westbrook is a minus 27 in 20 minutes, Eric.
Yikes.
That's funny. Rajon Rondo in 10 minutes is a plus 17. So maybe they should play Rondo instead of Westbrook. That's funny to see. Carmelo Anthony is 1 for 6, by the way, so he's not having a good game tonight for the Lakers.
Yeah, but still good of the Lakers to take him out of retirement and pick him up, and yeah when no one else wanted him, and they picked him up off the scrap heap. So good for the Lakers, even if he doesn't play well every game. Melo's
been doing pretty well for being out of the league for 3 seasons, so props to him. I didn't want him for the Portland Trail Blazers back in the day, and I'm so glad the Blazers never picked him up, but he's been doing pretty well for being as rusty as he is. The Golden State Warriors are beating the Bulls 94-69. This game is pretty much done. Stephen Curry has 34 points in this one for the Bulls. They're without Patrick Williams. They are without Nikola Vucevic as well. This is an upcoming game for the Blazers against the Bulls, and the Bulls will be without both those guys. Patrick Williams is out pretty much for the season, might be able to make a playoff return. Nikola Vucevic is out for, I think it was, 10 days, or was it 14 days?
I think the protocols are 10 days, but
regardless, he's going to miss our game. Yeah. So Alize Johnson, 9 off the bench. That'll be the return of Derrick Jones Jr. You got the return of Gary Trent Jr., and then you got the return of Derrick Jones Jr. We'll look at the Blazers' upcoming slate of games in a second. Let's look at some notable performances from tonight. We've already touched on a few of these. A couple triple-doubles from Europeans with Luka and Nikola Kevin Durant and James Harden combined for a good game. They're still without Kyrie Irving, so that's only a big 2 there in Brooklyn. And Dennis Schroeder with his annual almost 40-point game. It always seems like Dennis Schroeder has a game like this once in a while, and then the next game he's just nowhere to be found. It's kind of like the Carmelo Anthony situation where Carmelo will have a 30-point game and then the next game have 4 and be 1 for 8. So it'll be interesting to see how Dennis Schroeder backs this up.
Mm-hmm.
Let's look at the standings. 10-1 Golden State. Portland is at 6-7 there in 9th. Things are still a bit jumbled here, but you do have a little bit of separation. You got 3 teams at 8-4. Utah has lost some recent games, so they've fallen a bit. Phoenix is on a 7-game winning streak right now, so they're up there in 2nd place. The Lakers right now are losing, so they'd fall to 7-6 with the loss. Golden State is going to move to 11-1 with this win over the Bulls. Golden State's had an extremely easy schedule. So is Dallas. They're at 8-4. So you compare those teams to a team like Portland, who's had a much harder schedule, and Portland should be able to make some ground over the rest of the season, especially if they're able to figure some things out. At least that's my most optimistic spin on things right now. Anything jump out to you, Eric?
No, just like we talked about all season, the big game on Sunday. If you get that, you can move to 7-7, and you're right where you need to be. And then you got a little bit of, you got some home games. So hopefully we can get a win on Sunday. But if not, just then the next game becomes important not to fall 3 games under 500.
Yep. Let's look at the mess of the East. It's a mess in the East, Eric. You got Washington at 8-3 leading the conference. They're only 3 games ahead of the 11th place team, Milwaukee, at 6-7. You got a bunch of teams. I mean, I don't know what to make of the standings picture. You got Cleveland in 4th. You got Milwaukee on the outside of the play-in right now. The 2 conference finalists are on the outside of the play-in right now, and both of those teams lost today. Indiana, you expect them to bounce back. They've had a hard schedule. They'll probably end up being in the mix. You got 12 teams realistically battling for 10 spots right now. I think there's a clear cut. I mean, you got 13 teams because you got Atlanta too. You only got 2 teams that I think don't have a chance at a playing spot. That's Orlando and Detroit. So it's going to be really interesting to see how this shakes itself out. It'll be interesting to see if Cleveland is truly the New York Knicks from last year. They're sitting there at 8-5. I mean, I hope Cleveland keeps winning. I don't appreciate the Cleveland fan in chat, Spencer Premier, saying, you guys should rebuild like we did because I like Cleveland this year. Don't ruin that for me. I said, if there's a team that's going to surprise people in the East, it's going to be Cleveland, all right? And now I don't know, man. If their fans are telling us to rebuild, I don't know. Maybe I'm not on the Cleveland train anymore. We'll see. Do you think Cleveland's for real, Eric, or do you think this is just an early season fluke?
I don't think it's necessarily fluke. And I think they definitely could make at least the playing game. But I also don't think that like Philadelphia, once they figure out their stuff, will be worse than them. I definitely don't think Miami is worse than them. I have a hard time believing New York is worse than them. Milwaukee for sure is not worse than them if they're healthy. So I don't necessarily think it's a fluke, but I also don't expect them to stay up in the top 4 for sure. And I think they're going to be, around a 500 team maybe when it's all said and done, which is like if you would have said that at the beginning of the year, I think most Cleveland fans would take that.
Yeah. But it's just funny because I remember like New York being in this position last year and thinking the same exact thing.
Mm-hmm.
It was a little later on into the season. They kind of went on a winning streak, I think, about 30 to 40 games in and kind of got around 500. And that's what I was thinking. They went and got a 4th seed. So I think Cleveland's going to be a top 10 team. I think they'll at least be in the play-in. Not a super bold prediction with them. They're at 4, but defensively they've taken a major jump this year, and that's because of Evan Mobley, their 3rd overall pick, who's having probably the best defensive season of a rookie since Tim Duncan. So,
yeah, and you look at, I mean, obviously we knew Orlando and Detroit would not be good this year, but other than them, I mean, you would think some of the teams like Brooklyn, Miami, Milwaukee will eventually find their way to the top of the standings. But other than that, I mean, the East is wide open. I wouldn't put really anything out of possibility right now, especially if other teams have injuries or something. And Cleveland can find a way to stay relatively healthy. I don't know. It seems like this is just going to be a jumbled up mess the entire year because I don't see many of these teams being able to separate.
Yeah, I agree with that. Let's look at the Blazers' next 5 games. You got a back-to-back on Sunday and Monday. That's Denver, and then coming home to face Toronto. I will be at that Raptors game, so that post-game stream will go live a little bit later. I got to drive all the way back up to Vancouver. Then you got the Bulls, so you got 2 intriguing Eastern Conference teams. Then you got the Sixers. We'll see if Embiid is back for that game, and then the Nuggets again. So the Nuggets twice in the next 5 games. One more game on the road, Eric. And this Denver game would be a phenomenal victory to get back to 500 in time for a 4-game homestand. And that homestand, I mean, the Blazers have been really, really good at home. But it's been a small sample size. So that homestand will either reinforce that or maybe suggest that, oh, they're not as good of a team at home as they showed early on in the season. It's just, I kind of expect their road performance to improve a bit. I don't think they're going to stay as bad as they've been, and their home improvement to maybe regress slightly. Obviously, they've maybe been the biggest. They've had the biggest home road differential of any team in the league so far this year. So take care of business against Denver and go home 2-2 on the road trip. That would be huge. Get some revenge for the team that knocked you out of the playoffs, and then you got 4 solid teams, but teams that are beatable at home after that.
Yeah, so if you look at the dates, the back-to-back, Sunday, Monday will be tough. Mm-hmm. And then we play Wednesday. But then we only have 1 game in the next 6 days or in between the Bulls and the Nuggets. So maybe a chance at, when you have 2 days off twice in a row, chance to maybe lock in some things and work on maybe some new sets and some new cleaning up those defensive rotations and things like that. So if we could just find a way to win 2 out of the next 3, be 500, and then have several days with only 1 game in between, I think that would be a really good sign for this team.
Yeah, and I said the goal after November would be to be 12-10. So if they could win 2 of the next 3 and be 8-8, you got a chance to hit that mark. And I mean, if you can't beat Denver, they should beat Toronto and Chicago at home, especially with Chicago missing Vucevic as well as Patrick Williams, and given how the Blazers have played. So 2 of the next 3 I think is very reasonable. And then 1 game in 5 days, 18th through the 22nd. Their only game is Philadelphia, so get some rest, and it'll be easier for them to practice on stuff having that much of a break at home compared to on the road where they don't have to travel and set things up there. So might see a different team coming out against Denver on November 23rd. It's crazy because we have 16 games in the month of November, which is only a 30-day month, and 6 back-to-backs. Despite 16 games in 30 days, we have 1 game in 5 days between Chicago and Denver. So
that just shows you how cramped the rest of the month is.
So I think it's pretty cramped after that. If you want the full schedule and you want a schedule breakdown, I dropped that before the season. Just go look back in the video log on the channel and you'll be able to find that. All right, so I said I'd finish things off with a Neil Olshey tidbit. Let me find it. They've been sharing it in the GC. So apparently, Eric, since the investigation became public last week, Neil Olshey has been at the practice facility every day among employees who issued complaints against him. Did you read that? Is this new to you?
I've not read this yet. Yeah, it's new to me.
That's not good. That's not what? If he's being investigated, he shouldn't be around employees that are issuing complaints. So that's dumb.
It's like going to the game and sitting next to Jody before the news was even broke, even though she knows he's being investigated.
It's like nobody's running this thing. Like, it's just like, it's like the kids are left home alone, you know, and they're not old enough to be left home alone. And then the mother comes back and it's just a mess. That's basically what this is like nobody has any oversight to tell Olshey, yeah, don't show up to the practice facility and hang out with employees that issued complaints against you. That can't be good.
We're going to need you to work from home for a while.
Yeah, like the players haven't been there. They've been on this road trip. I couldn't imagine like during a practice Olshey being there and just like how that environment might be.
Well, it's also a case where if you're doing an investigation, you don't want him trying to influence that. And if all the stories are true about him, he absolutely is 100% would be the type of person who would go to the practice facility and try to tell people you better not be saying shit about me.
Yeah.
But
that's your favorite word now, Eric.
Yeah, sorry.
Eric's new favorite word.
But yeah, so very bad look for the Blazers in my opinion. So I don't understand why you wouldn't just put him on leave or at least have him have no contact with anyone involved with the investigation.
Yeah. Here's another tidbit. Olshey allegedly subjected staffers to profanity-laced tirades, including former head coach Terry Stotts, while Olshey sat courtside during home games, which routinely caught the attention of players. Well, I guess that's why players are being interviewed for this situation. That kind of explains what I was wondering earlier, which was why would players be a part of this? There's a reason. In October 2017, late team owner Paul Allen banned Olshey from watching the game inside the Arena Bowl after Olshey flipped off an individual from the Los Angeles Clippers after Blake Griffin nailed a game-winning three-pointer. Sources said the incident was caught on television, and we heard about that. I was at that game. That game sucked, but that's something.
Well, so the story there was that Olshey was flipping off one of his former coworkers, and they were having a playful banter throughout the whole game, and it wasn't like a mean-spirited thing. But yeah, so he was not seen on the sidelines for a while. I guess he watched the games in the back. But yeah, I think it's funny that if he was sitting by the sidelines chewing Terry out during games, like I actually kind of want to.
You, Eric.
I know. I kind of want to see that. Why are we wanting drop ski? Can you imagine like him yelling the stuff we talk about after every game, like at Terry Stotts while he was trying to coach?
I want to know what was said. What is happening, man? What is this?
Don't know.
What is this organization right now? I don't know. Like, I don't think it's a situation where we're like a complete. I don't know. I don't think we're a complete mess of an organization because, like, in terms of the roster, we're okay. We're a winning team. We have a good leader. We have a good locker room. In terms of the players in the locker room, we have a good culture. Obviously, the front office and the higher ups is just an absolute wreck right now, and that needs to get sorted out. But coaching wise, in my opinion, I mean, we got a new president. There should be no issues with that. Right now, I just sit here like, okay, if we replace Neil Olshey, there's nothing to really complain about. Everything should be fine if you replace kind of the main guy causing the problems in terms of the toxicity within the front office. So that's kind of where we're at right now, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the Suns, and their owner is currently being investigated for a lot worse things, probably. And they're, on a 7-game win streak, and no one really says anything about their team or their coaching staff being dysfunctional or anything. So, I think it's a matter of maybe just separating the two, because unless they make a trade or something, that it's not really going to affect or shouldn't affect on the court or the playing style. So unless a new GM comes in and makes a bunch of moves, there's no real reason to let it seep into the basketball on the court world.
Yep, agreed. So that's going to do it for the stream. We'll have another stream on Sunday. And then we'll have 2 streams on Monday. So we'll have 2 streams in 3 days. No streams tomorrow. So enjoy your Saturday without us. Hopefully we're talking about a win against Denver. That would be nice. Might do a Twitter space on Sunday at some point before the game. I want to do at least 2 to 3 a week, and I haven't done one in a while. So, of course, you got football on Sunday as well. So I might try and do a Twitter space. Make sure to follow us on Twitter. Links are going to be in the description box below. And then catch our... we'll preview the Raptors game on Monday. That'll be over on our second channel, Blazers Uprise Live, going live around 3:30 p.m. on Monday. So that link is in the description below. Always check the description for links and whatnot. Anything else, Eric?
No, just thank you to everyone for watching our show tonight, and thanks for participating in chat, and hope to see you all again on Sunday.
Yep, agreed. Have a good rest of your night. Until next time, as always, peace out. Go Blazers.